diamond from within. BFF, we rise above, stronger together, we shine with love. Faith unshaken, hearts on fire, fearless souls, we're reaching high.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BFF Empowerment Podcast. I am your host, Blaque Diamond, and with me today on the Women on the Rise segment of the BFF Empowerment Podcast, I have the privilege of having Ms. Marita Littauer with me. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's a treat to be with you.
All right. Well, do you mind telling the listeners a little bit about yourself before we write in?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm the author of 20 books. I wrote my first book when I was about 23, and my best-selling book is Wired That Way, and it came out 20 years ago this month, actually. And so that book is my bestseller, and I am excited that it stayed relevant all this time, still selling and still changing people's lives. And so that's kind of the focus. I'm spending 2026 to talk about Wired That Way and kind of reinvigorate the brand. But a little bit more personal background is I live in Lubbock, Texas. I was born in Connecticut, grew up in California, and spent about 20 years in Albuquerque, New Mexico in between. And I love to cook and entertain, so I'm a hobby chef. Those are a couple personal things there.
Oh, wow. Author of 20 books. I thought I was doing something. You got me by 5.
Oh my God, I'm probably older than you are too. I'm 67, so I've had a while at it. And my mother wrote 40 books. So,
oh my goodness.
It's kind of a family thing. She actually opened up the door for me to publish my first book. So I had an advantage, kind of nepotism a bit.
Yes, I published 15. I started in 2016, so 10 years.
That's amazing.
I've been writing since I was 11, but I didn't really start actually publishing until 2016.
Writing, that's amazing.
Yes. It's definitely been a love of mine since forever. It was like my escape.
I was the opposite. I never really desired to be a writer. I didn't necessarily love writing, and but I had a particular skill that a publisher wanted, and they knew my mother, and so there we were. But now I like to write. I write a lot. I do write a lot now, and I have a new blog. I should have mentioned that. I started a blog. This particular blog, it's called The Best Life Project. And it's for women over 60 who want to live their best life. And I'm not the only writer for it, but I do write. I write at least once a quarter. I write something, probably a little more frequently than that. But I have a variety of different contributors who are successful women in a variety of ways that they're successful. But we're all over 60, and we're offering ideas, inspiration, and instruction for women over 60 who want to live their best life.
Oh, I love it. Because that's kind of like a young phrase, like I'm living my best life. So now, this is for the 60 and up crew, how to live your best life.
That age range, we're in kind of a unique place because for most of us, the children are out of the house. We're set in who we are and comfortable in who we are. And many of us have retired, and which includes me. And people at that age, oftentimes when the kids are gone and they've retired, that all their life they focused on the kids and they focused on their career. And suddenly both of those are gone. And it's kind of like, well, what am I going to do now? Who am I? They're not even sure of their identity anymore. So that's kind of our target audience.
I love it because, empty nesters and a lot of people, I found those that I know that have retired, like they went back to work because they're like, I'm bored. Like, I don't have anything to do. Like, I don't want to just sit in the house and waste away. So a lot of them actually go and get like part-time jobs or stuff like that just just to kind of feel relevant, like they're still, contributing and being active.
Well, and I guess, I mean, I technically have retired, my husband would say I'm not making any money. I'm doing podcasts and radio interviews to talk about my book in its 20th anniversary. And I've got this blog, and I was working on it just before you and I connected here today, working on a new blog post that I'll get up tomorrow. And, I don't know how I ever had time to work. Really?
It's a lot. And, I find myself wondering, like, how do you get all of this done? Like, you're one person. Like, there's only 24 hours in a day, but it seems like I get a lot done, even with a full-time job and a child.
Wow. Well, that's amazing.
So, yeah, you definitely can, find yourself doing a lot. So you're celebrating 20 years. I think next year, actually, I'll be celebrating my first book's 10th anniversary. So I'm actually working on like a special edition with like some, behind the scenes, some left out chapters, something to kind of celebrate that milestone. Are you planning something special for the 20th anniversary, like milestone for the book?
Well, my publisher is redoing the back cover copy, and I have an updated photo on the back and an updated bio on the back. And there's in the back pages, it's updated. But interestingly, my publisher told me that if they were to do a whole new edition that had substantial content changes, that Amazon requires that has a new ISBN number. And if we did that, then I would lose all of the great reviews I have on the book on Amazon, and we would be starting over from scratch as far as Amazon and the reputation and the reviews. And so I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to keep all of that 20 years of history that I've got there. So we've made some minor changes, but we're not doing any like you're doing additional content or anything like that. We've just made some changes in the back cover and the end material on the book.
Okay. All right. And so you're traditionally published. All of my books I've actually self-published.
Yeah. Well, it's a different world today.
Yes.
My last book I wrote is self-published, and it's the only one I've done that is self-published. But it's really a different world today. I haven't written a book in almost 20 years. The last one I wrote that was self-published is a little more recent than Wired That Way, which is as I said, my best-selling book. But it's a different world today than it was 20 years ago. And so there's not the publishers today, even if you are traditionally published, they expect you to do so much work yourself that you kind of have to, and it's so hard to get published by a traditional publisher that the reason to go with them is not as obvious as it used to be.
Yes. And that's what I actually, compared when I first started my journey and wanted, I looked at the pros and cons of traditional publishing and self-publishing, and just for what my needs were and what I wanted, for me, self-publishing was the best route to go. Yes, it's more expensive because you're holding down everything yourself, but to be able to publish what I wanted, when I wanted, without having to be tied down to a contract or anything, any obligation.
I totally get that.
I decided, you know what? If I want to publish 3 books in a year, I can. If I only want to publish 1, I can. There's no contractual obligation to publish what they want. So
totally get that. And that's part of what I like about my blog is, I got an idea a few weeks ago to write. I have several friends who are in my age group who are caring for their mother. And I cared for my mother in the last 2 years of her life. She lived with me from age 90 to 92. And so my two of my friends who are going through this right now, and I have other friends who've gone through it previously, and their mother has already passed away. But I interviewed these friends of mine. I got information from friends on Facebook who gave their input. and I put this article together. And I started writing it a few days before Mother's Day. I wanted it published before Mother's Day. It's kind of a different take on Mother's Day, caring for mom. And I finished writing it on Saturday, and I published it on Saturday. And that's, that's one of the things I love about a blog. Like you said, you can publish what you want when you want it.
I love it. I actually just started. Well, I used to blog like a long time ago, but just finding this year, trying to improve and having different parts of the podcast, I decided to actually start a blog part of the podcast as well. So every episode starting from, this year has a blog post that goes with the episode.
Is it basically the transcript of the podcast, or do you edit it, or how is it?
Yes, I actually edit it and take out like there's points where if there's quotes or things that are said that are relevant, that are empowering, I give a kind of a text-based version of what the episode was about. And it includes like any relevant links and things like that, but it's also linked back to the actual episode as well.
Sure. Yeah, one of my main contributors to my blog has a podcast, a weekly podcast, and what I publish on my blog is basically a transcript. I edit it down so that it works in a written format, but it's basically the transcript of her podcast. And she doesn't have guests on her podcast; it's just her, and so it works really well to transcribe it or translate it into a written product.
Yes, I actually love that. I'm like, oh wow, because just in case, people, want to read the post first, then listen to the episode, or listen to the episode, and then, it's just you never know. And some people prefer, if they're not able to hear the actual podcast, they may want to read the post. So it kind of gives them the idea of what the episode is about. So I actually love that I have the ability to do that feature.
It's a good way to do it.
Yes. So, since you are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Wired like that, can you tell us what exactly is this book about? Like, I'm curious. Wired that way, like, it does sound intriguing.
I hope it does. Wired That Way addresses personality types, and there are other personality systems that exist out there. And I believe this approach is superior, of course. If I didn't think this was better, I wouldn't have done it. But my mother started teaching this material on what I call the personalities as the greater body of work. My mom started with this topic when I was only 9 years old. And as I said, I'm 67 now. So almost 60 years ago, I became aware of this topic through my mother. And my mother read a book back in the day called The Spirit-Controlled Temperament. And it was written by Tim LaHaye. And this was back before he was well known for his Left Behind series that you may or may not be familiar with. But my mother read this book. And for the first time, as she read this book, she realized that just because she was different from my father did not make her wrong. And my father was the type of personality. He's what we call the perfect melancholy personality represented by the color blue. And perfect melancholy represents a perfectionist. And my father was very detail conscious, very scheduled, very task oriented. He also
sounds like me.
With that, well, I would bet that you've got some of the powerful choleric as well with everything you've accomplished. So we'll talk about that. But my father was that perfectionist. My mother was much more like me. She was kind of happy-go-lucky. She'd talk to everyone. She would forget where she was going. She would lose her car keys and things like that. So it was very easy for my father to make her feel that she was wrong. And so that was how she felt. And when she read this book, Spirit-Controlled Temperament, and she realized that she is what's called the popular sanguine personality represented by the color yellow. And those two are total opposites from one another, but yet that is who we tend to marry. We tend to marry someone who is opposite from us, and that's what my parents did. So as my mother really felt this book was transformational for her, she started telling her friends about it. And it wasn't long before my parents had couples coming together once a week in our living room to read through this book and discuss it. And this was long ago, obviously, nearly 60 years ago, before there were small groups in churches, before there were book clubs. My parents put this together. And then my father created the personality profile that is in the back of the book, and many other. My mother's written many books on this topic as well. Her best-selling book on this topic is called Personality Plus, and it's been translated into more than 25 languages and sold millions of copies. That's part of why I call this material The Personalities when I say it's the greater body of work, because she's written several books on it, and actually I have too. But Wired That Way kind of encompasses all elements of it. And what I mean by that is my mother wrote Personality Plus, which is primarily on understanding your own personality, understanding who God made you to be. And so she wrote that book. Then she wrote Personality Plus for couples. Then she wrote Personality Plus for parents.
And series.
Later, she wrote Personality Plus in the workplace. And as I was a young teen, I would go with my mother to her speaking engagements, which evolved from her teaching people in our living room. It evolved into speaking engagements. And I would go with her to her speaking engagements. And people would come to me at the back of the room and look at the books and say, do I have to buy all these books? Isn't there one book that covers everything? And so Wired That Way is that one book that covers everything. So it addresses the 4 basic personality types. And I mentioned 2, my father, the perfect melancholy, and my mother, the popular sanguine. Another one is the powerful choleric personality. And I believe you probably have quite a bit of this. This is the natural driver of life, the boss of life, the goal-oriented person, the one who is the real driver of life. Now, they can also tend to be judgmental because other people don't accomplish what they accomplish. So it's very easy to kind of look down on other people. And they can tend to be bossy and unsympathetic. So that's kind of the powerful choleric personality. And then the opposite of that is the peaceful phlegmatic. And the peaceful phlegmatic is the low-key, comfortable kind of person. They're kind of the shoes off kind of person. And they're really easy to be with because they're not demanding and they're not pushy. Like I said, they're comfortable kind of people, and they prefer to stay in the background. And if you can picture in your mind just a standard quadrant, 2 squares on the top, 2 squares on the bottom, the popular sanguine would be in the top left square.
Okay.
Powerful choleric would be in the top right. Popular sanguine, fun-loving, outgoing, color yellow. Powerful choleric, strong, driven, goal-oriented, color red. Both of those colors are kind of hot colors, and both of those personality types are the extroverts. They're the outgoing person. And if you have both of those in one person, which is what I have, I'm roughly 50% the popular sanguine and roughly 50% the powerful choleric. If you have both of those in one person, I like to say you have someone who is turbocharged. And we tend to overwhelm other people because we're so out there, so accomplishing, and so energetic. But then if you look at the bottom of the quadrant, the perfect melancholy, color blue, would be on the bottom right, peaceful phlegmatic, color green on the bottom left. And both of those personality types are the natural introverts. They are drained by people and energized by solitude. And both of those colors are cool colors. And that represents their personality type appropriately. So that gives you a really quick overview. And I've kind of indicated, though I didn't say it directly, but I've kind of indicated that most of us are not just one direct personality type. Most of us have a blend, and the blend can be like 90%, 10%, or it can be, as it is in my case, more like 50-50.
Yeah, I think I'm 50-50 with the yellow and the blue.
So you've got that perfectionistic, but yet the
Yes.
outgoing at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you understand this, now when I teach the personalities in my book, Wired That Way, and when I'm speaking on it and here talking to you about it, what I like to do, different from what my mother did, is you heard me say that from my mother, understanding who she was life-changing for her. I, on the other hand, grew up with this. So understanding who I am has never been a question to me. It's never been something I wondered about because I grew up with this information. But when I got into the workforce, which for me was as a teenager in a fast food restaurant, but if you think about it, when you're working, for most of us, this is the first time in life that we have to spend time with people that we maybe don't like. Because as a kid, if you don't like someone, you don't go to their house. You don't invite them to your house. You don't play in the sandbox or whatever. So when you're at work, it's the first time that you're forced to interact with people that you don't really like. And so for me, because I grew up with this material, I was able to quickly and easily identify the personality type of the people with whom I was working, and even some of the regular customers. And once I understood that, and this is kind of where I see the real value in this material is once I could figure out what their personality type was, then I knew what to expect from that person. I could adjust my expectations of them accordingly, because there are a long set of strengths and weaknesses of each personality type that are listed in the book. And so with that list of strengths and weaknesses, I can look at someone and I can know, for example, if there's someone who's always going to be late. And if there's someone who's always going to be late, then I can adjust my expectations of them instead of constantly being angry that that person is late. So I'm just using that as an example. But you can adjust your expectations of the people with whom you live and work once you understand their personality type. Additionally, along with each personality type comes a set of wired that way, emotional needs that go with that person. And once you start meeting the emotional needs of someone else, of that other person, that's where you can see real changes in the relationship. Because, most of us were brought up on what is called the golden rule. And the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And this is fine if you're talking about children playing in the sandbox. And, one says, Mommy, he kicked sand in my face. And you say, well, what did you do to him? Well, so you have that discussion. Well, we tend to carry that into our adult life. We tend to give to our spouse, to our family, to our friends, what we want because we think everybody wants that. But in fact, that is not the case. And once you understand someone's personality type, and in the book, I have a whole chapter on how to visibly identify someone's personality type based on their body language, their clothing, and how they keep their personal space, that will help you identify someone's personality type. And once you've done that, as I said, you can then adjust your expectations of them and most importantly, begin to meet their emotional needs. So it's really all about relationships.
Yeah, how with love language, how they say everybody has a different love language and how they react to, different things is dependent on that.
And there is a very definite parallel there. Very definite parallel between personality types and love languages. In fact, I'm trying to think, was it last year or 2 years ago now? Anyway, very recently, I developed an online course for people who want to be certified in teaching the personalities. And I go through in the course the 10 chapters of the book, but then I have some extra kind of bonus material. And one of those lessons is on love languages and personality types.
Okay. Oh, wow. I actually like things like this. I like, because I'm all about like self-discovery and learning who I am and why I react or how I act, or so I'm always into looking at personality quizzes and personality things to kind of dissect who I am.
And we have a personality profile that's available on paper. You can get it through Amazon or through me, but frankly, Amazon will get it to you faster than I do. But and it's in the book. And we also have it available on my website, which is thepersonalities.com. We have an electronic version of the personality profile as well that people can go and do immediately without having to wait for the paper copy to get mailed to them. And we sell hundreds of those personality profiles a month.
Oh, wow.
So and we use a lot of churches, schools, and businesses use that personality profile. In fact, I have a church in Florida who's one of my very regular customers, and they just switched from using the paper copy to the electronic copy. But they told me that in their church in Florida, they do 250 weddings a year.
Wow.
Which is just baffling to me. That's like almost one every day. But anyway, they have every couple that they marry in this church. They have them go through the personality profile as a part of their premarital counseling that the couples go through, because they believe that understanding your spouse, your spouse's personality is that important, and that everybody that goes through their premarital counseling does this. But sometimes the spouse, one of the partners anyway, is not in that city, and so they have found that it's easier for them to give them the electronic version and just tell them to go and do that, rather than trying to mail them a paper copy, and then they do their premarital counseling via Zoom. So, but I mean, it's very widely used. I've got several medical practices that use it with all their new hires and do training that way. So it's very helpful to understand. And there, as I said, there are other personality typing programs that are out there, but I feel like there are several things that we offer that are different and an improvement from most of the other options that are out there.
Oh, wow. And you said it can be found on the personalities.
thepersonalities.com. So it's THE, the word personalities, plural.com.
.com. Okay. Definitely.
Or my
we'll put
name,
that in the show name.
MaritaLittauer.com, but my name is complicated, so it's easier to do the personal. They both take you there, but it's easier to do thepersonalities.com. Yep.
I love it.
Also, one of the things, I have a lot of free information on the website. As I mentioned earlier, in the 20th anniversary year of my book, I've been doing a lot of podcasts and radio interviews. And on my website, there is a tab. I sell the books and so forth there as well. But there's a free resources tab on the website. And every once in a while, when I have a window of time, I'll go in and put on all the recent podcasts that I've done. I'll put a link to all those recent podcasts. And it's a little behind at the moment. I need to go in and put a block of them in because I've done a lot lately. But and then there's speeches of mine and my mother's. My mother's been gone now for 6 years, but one of her most popular speeches on the personalities, it's really funny, is available there free. And so we have a lot of free resources available at thepersonalities.com. And the personality profile is there. It's $4, but it's nearly free because it's only $4.
So is it like a personality quiz like they can take, or is it just like you sit down and okay.
Yeah, you go through and it's got 4-word choices, has a total of 40 words, 20 are strengths, 20 are weaknesses. And when you're done taking it, it has the word definitions, which are really important for this personality profile to make sure you help you select the right word. For example, one of the words on the personality profile is crafty. And some people might interpret that to mean you go to Hobby Lobby a lot. But no, what it means is you're manipulative, not Hobby Lobby. So the word definitions are very helpful, and the electronic copy has the word definitions in it with each word. So, and the paper copy does too. But by the nature of a paper copy, you're constantly flipping back and forth between the profile and the word definitions. Where on the electronic copy, they are there and they pop up automatically for you. So it's a good resource.
I can see me, I would have made that mistake and put, oh yeah, I'm definitely crafty. Click. And not realizing like, oh no, not that crafty.
It is in the section with the weaknesses. If you thought it was the Hobby Lobby kind of crafty, you might be saying, what's that a negative? But it's because it's the manipulative kind of crafty.
Yes. Okay. Got it. So one thing I've noticed that you or your mom actually didn't do, which I would see you continuing that. Have you guys ever thought about doing it for children?
We have not. We do have a book, my mother's book, Personality Plus for Parents on Raising Children. There is a book there's a very comparable system that was put together by Gary Smalley, and I'm losing the name of the other person that was involved with him, where they do this with animals, and they have done it for children. And it's very comparable, especially in the children's version, because it's quite basic. So it doesn't go into a lot of the additional things that I'm talking about here. So I can't even remember what the name of that is.
It just sounds like it would be something very fun for them to do to kind of get to know themselves.
Yes.
Not as in depth, of course, as the adult version, but just to kind of be like, ooh,
and I do have one of our certified personality trainers did put together a book on that for children that's self-published, so it's not as widely read or as widely available as the first one that I mentioned that I can't remember, but it has something to do with a personality zoo or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it is a very valuable concept.
Especially like when you're in, like, I would say end of elementary, middle school, when you're just kind of learning yourself and learning what you like and you don't like and things like that, just to kind of, it's not set in stone, of course, because as you continue to develop, it may change, but just to kind of have that, okay, so this is who I am. Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that would be kind of cool because it sounded like you guys kind of started a series. So sounds like a teen version or a children's version would have been the next.
We do have, I kind of co-wrote it with one of our personality trainers, and it's called Smarter Not Harder, and it is on our website, and we did self-publish it. I don't have that in my book count, but we did self-publish that book, and it is available on the website, and it's for middle school, essentially. It's for middle school students to help them. And it deals a lot with study skills based on your personality type and helping you succeed in school, as the title says, smarter, not harder, to work with what your personality is and who you are. And that's a very good tool.
Okay.
So we have done that. Now that I think about it, it's not for small children, but it is for middle school.
And with that book, is it like what formats is it available in? Just a print book?
It's just available in print, but it's a booklet, because students that age are not going to read a 300-page book.
Yes.
And so it's just available in print, but it is a booklet. But since you asked about format, the book Wired That Way is available in an audio book through Amazon. And it also is available, Wired That Way is available free for Kindle Unlimited members can get Wired That Way free on their Kindle. And my mother's book, Personality Plus, is available free on Kindle as well.
Oh, okay.
So
I like the idea of that. So I was thinking about the kids book because I actually have an app that I developed called No Limits Girl. And it is a empowerment platform for young blind and visually impaired girls
Wow.
around like elementary and middle school age. So I would like to add the teen version as a resource for, because it's all about developing confidence, empowering them to see
Great.
themselves beyond their, visual disability. So the whole platform, I want to actually start. I have like stories and resources for like parents and things like that, but I actually want to kind of add a feature that's like a resource library of external books, kids, just websites, things that they can go to
Oh,
if
that's so
they're
amazing.
looking for different, resources that'll help them outside of what's available on the app.
Yeah, that's amazing what you've done. It's great.
Yeah, because when I went blind, at the age of 15, like I didn't have that support or the resources or anything. Like I had to learn and figure out everything on my own. And so I just want to kind of bridge the gap between what they learned through school and their parents, but a platform that's there to help build that independence outside of school and parenting, to help them build that confidence that they need to know that, they are, they have the right tools and things that they need in place that's going to help them be successful.
Wow, that's fabulous.
And No Limits is kind of a nickname that I've earned just over the years because of everything that I do and what I'm involved in. And it was
How
somebody.
old are you now?
Say that again.
How old are you now?
I am 36.
Okay. All right.
So like a lot, I actually earned it from a interview I did, and she was just like, you have no limits. Like you literally everything it is you want to do, like you go out and do it, and it kind of stuck. So it just became kind of a nickname, and now I actually use it as my branding.
Yeah, I can see why.
So I'm building my whole No Limits girl, but because it's geared towards young girls, I
Yeah.
want to call it No Limits Girls to help empower and inspire, the blind
I'm
and visually
sure
impaired
you're right. I'm
girls.
sure there's a large gap of material for the population that you're talking about, that you're wanting to address.
So yes, I definitely want to add that book as a resource that they can tap into and be able to, read and get what they and just kind of just learn more about themselves. So like I'm a title holder, I'm a pageant girl. So once I won my first pageant, I decided to create a feature in the app called Crowned Academy. And it's not really dealing with pageantry, but it is dealing with just learning grace and poise and confidence and public speaking and just behavioral, normals and, learning about hygiene and things like that, just to be a lady, how to be a little lady, not
Oh,
necessarily, which fork you eat a salad with or anything like that, but just kind of bridging the gap to the social norms and what's appropriate behavior.
oh, fabulous what you've done.
So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. It's constantly adding and editing
You make me feel like
updating.
a slacker.
Well, based on your personality, it's who I am, and I think
Yeah.
it's just life circumstances and
Well,
just
you've chosen to use
hmm
your life circumstances to benefit other people instead of having a pity party.
yes, definitely.
God bless you for that.
That's why when you were doing the personalities, I'm like, okay, I can see a bit of this part is me. Yep, a bit of
Yes,
this, and
yes.
kind of, put them together. Yep, that's me.
Yep.
And that's why I do what I do here. This is what my platform is all about, is sharing resources, sharing that knowledge, and sharing those stories of, women bridging the gap and creating resources and materials and just sharing those personal journeys that someone else needs to hear.
And we do all have a personal journey. And like
hmm
I said, it depends. We can choose to use it for good, or we can choose to wallow in self-pity.
And that's actually what my episode so I did an episode about mental health for Mental Health Awareness Month, and it was just basically my journey of becoming a mom. And that's what I talked about, despite my circumstances, despite becoming a mom basically against my will, I chose to look at that in a positive way, and instead of repeating those cycles of trauma and letting life just pass me by, I decided to use that situation as a way to undo the wrong and harm that was done to me in childhood, and to show my child a different way.
How old is your child now?
He is 7.
Oh, just amazing.
Yes. And I've raised him on my own since day one. Never had any experience with children, never even held a baby, changed a diaper, but you know what? I figured it out. And now he's 7, thriving, and just living and loving life. So it can be done. But it's all about the choices you make, the choices you choose, because you do have a choice.
Excellent point.
All right. So is there anything else you would like to share? Anything you would like to leave listeners with? You've already done your social, I mean, not your social, your website, but we'll definitely make sure all of that is in the show notes.
Great. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just want to, in closing, point out the Bible verse that I like to use in teaching the personalities is Romans 12:18, which says, if possible, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. And I love how that Bible verse breaks down into those 3 parts. The first part says, if possible. So it's kind of like God is giving us a disclaimer, because we cannot control all those other people out there. But then the second part says, so far as it depends on you, the only person we can control is ourselves. So if possible, so far as it depends on you. And then the third part says, be at peace with all men. And so I view the personalities as a tool that allows us to fulfill that biblical mandate.
All right. So are there any social websites you would like to plug, or allow listeners to reach out?
ThePersonalities.com. Anyone that's interested in my blog for women 60 plus, it's the bestlifeproject.com. But it's important to know Best Life is hyphenated. If you just do Best Life Project, you'll go somewhere else. It's not a bad place. It's just not my place. So the best-life-project.com is the blog that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. I love it. All right. So we have come to my favorite part of the show, where we play What Is She Thinking? I'll give you 5
I'm a little
random
scared
phrases.
about this.
You'll give me the first thing that comes to your mind. You don't have to think too hard about it. Just something fun to get to know you after a great conversation.
All right, I'm ready.
What is she thinking? What are her thoughts? Quick, fast, no blinking. What do you got?
All right. So your first one is going to be, if I could be any color, I would be.
Would be yellow, because that's the popular sanguine. That's like a happy face. And that's kind of me, the eternal optimist.
Okay, I like it. All right. Plant me a flower that.
Sorry? Plant
me a flower that.
Blooms year round.
Year round. I like roses and giant elephant ears. They're very low maintenance.
I've got roses growing in my garden, and when we're done here, I'm going to go work in my garden and work on the sprinkler system.
All right. So your next one is going to be, my personality is.
Well, it's popular sanguine. I mean, that's kind of what we've talked about. But that's what we spent our whole time talking about. So popular sanguine. My personality is outgoing, fun-loving.
Yes. All right. Your next one is going to be, chocolate ice cream goes good with
caramel.
Okay. And your last one is going to...
I'm not a big chocolate person, but if you give me chocolate, caramel, and nuts together, I have a hard time resisting.
Yes, I love it. Together, yes.
My babe.
Love it.
Yep.
So your last one is going to be, one thing someone would not be able to guess about me is.
Someone would not be able to guess about me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of out there. So anyone who knows me would probably guess anything I could think of. But I'm working on it here. One thing they wouldn't guess about me. What's what came to mind? You asked what comes to mind first. I love cooking with garlic.
I
That's
do
kind of out there,
too.
I know. But one time, many years ago, my mother and father came to visit me in my home. I was young married. My husband was there. And my mom and dad spent a lot of time on the roads traveling and speaking and selling books and so forth. That was their life. And so they came to my house and they were going to be speaking in my area. And I wanted to make them something that would be different from the stuff they had in restaurants all the time. And I made them a chicken dish, and it had something like 36 cloves of garlic in it.
Oh my good! Wow.
And my parents had to go to this church near me and speak that night while they're like reeking of garlic, because so it's, but I do like to cook with garlic.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow the podcast on all major podcasting platforms. Also visit our website at bffempowermentpodcast.com to keep up to date with the latest and greatest on the podcast and our blog. Also follow us on social media. We are BFF Empowerment Podcast on Facebook, Threads, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And if you would like to be a spotlight on the Women on the Rise segment of the BFF Empowerment Podcast, send an interest email to bffempowerment@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review or a rating on your favorite podcast platform of choice to help other women discover their next favorite women's empowerment podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening.